Natalie Wood entered the world as Natalia Nikolaevna Zakharenko on July 20, 1938, in San Francisco, California. The daughter of Russian immigrants, she was raised on discipline, pride in heritage, and the unshakable belief, especially from her mother, that she was meant for the spotlight. Dark hair, luminous eyes, and a natural air of vulnerability gave her a presence that cameras loved and audiences felt. From the start, childhood was not ordinary. Convinced her little girl was destined for fame, Maria Zakharenko pushed Natalie into acting almost as soon as she could walk. By 4, Natalie was appearing in film bits and walk-ons, beginnings of a career that stretched more than 3 decades. In 1947, at just 8, Natalie became a household name with Miracle on 34th Street. As the solemn little skeptic who learns to believe, she delivered one of cinema's great child performances. That film didn't just put her on the map, it fixed her as the rare young star who could truly act. Where many child performers fade, Natalie pushed forward. The 1950s saw her shift from sweet kid roles to complex parts, helped by a fierce work ethic and the instinct to find truth in a scene. Her breakout as Judy in Rebel Without a Cause, 1955, put her opposite James Dean and Sal Mineo in a story that caught the restless spirit of a changing America. At 17, she earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. A clear signal she wasn't just a former child star, she was a serious actress. Then came the peak years. In 1961, she played Maria in West Side Story, one of Hollywood's great musicals. Though her singing was dubbed, her acting gave Maria tenderness and gravity that lingered long after the songs ended. That same year, she stunned again in Splendor in the Grass, 1961, opposite Warren Beatty. As Deanie Loomis, she mapped a young woman's descent under social pressure with harrowing honesty, earning her a second Academy Award nomination, this time for Best Actress. The role continued. Love with the Proper Stranger, 1963, with Steve McQueen, another Oscar nomination. Inside Daisy Clover, 1965, and the satire Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice, 1969. The filmography shows a performer willing to risk, daring, contemporary, and unafraid of characters who were complicated, bruised, and real. Natalie Wood's love life fascinated America, partly because it mirrored the era's glamour and volatility. Her first great romance was with Robert Wagner, the matinee idol she'd admired since girlhood, nearly 8 years older. According to Natalie, she told her mother at 10 that she would marry him someday. At 18, with her career already in full bloom, she let Wagner know how she felt. A whirlwind followed, and they married on December 28, 1957, in a ceremony that dazzled the press. Yet the strain of fame, conflicting schedules, and personal pressures piled up. By 1962, after 5 years, their marriage ended, fuel for endless speculation in the tabloids. In 1969, seeking steadier ground, she married British producer Richard Gregson after a 2 1/2-year courtship. Their daughter Natasha Gregson was born in 1970, and for a time, Natalie seemed to find the domestic ease she craved. But friction emerged, and by 1972, they divorced. That same year, destiny looped back. Natalie and Robert Wagner reconciled and remarried, a mature second chapter between two people who had lived and learned. In 1974, they welcomed Courtney Wagner. Whatever their storms, and there were storms, they stayed together until Natalie's death in 1981. Natalie's early years in Hollywood were dominated by her mother, Maria, whose single-minded ambition often bulldozed boundaries. Many who later recalled those years described Maria as controlling and emotionally volatile, someone who believed her daughter's stardom was inevitable, and who would do anything to hasten it. That belief sometimes pushed Natalie into situations no child should face. Among the most troubling claims from that period are stories that Maria guided her toward powerful older men in the industry, convinced such connections would help her career. Some accounts allege that when Natalie was 15 or 16, she became romantically involved with Frank Sinatra, then one of the most famous entertainers on earth. Because she was a minor and he was decades older, any such involvement would have been both improper and dangerous. These stories were whispered in private at the time and surfaced later in memoirs and biographies. For example, Sinatra's longtime valet, George Jacobs, wrote in Mr. S., My Life with Frank Sinatra, that Sinatra had shown disquieting interest in Natalie and that Maria encouraged exposure to powerful men. Jacobs's recollections are widely debated and should be treated as allegations, not settled fact. What is not in doubt is the era's ugly pattern. Young actresses too often found themselves in the orbit of men with outsized power, while the adults tasked with protecting them sometimes looked away, or worse, at 16, Natalie auditioned for Nicholas Ray's Rebel Without a Cause. Ray was 42 and famous for both talent and womanizing. Numerous accounts over the years have alleged that he exploited Natalie's youth and vulnerability while she sought the role of Judy, allegations that cast a grim light on how young women were pressured in that era. Whatever the full truth, she got the part through grit and persistence over rivals such as Jane Mansfield and Debbie Reynolds, and the performance remade her career. The film itself became legend. Its aura deepened when James Dean died before its release. Natalie later said Rebel was the first role she fought to do for herself, defying her parents' wishes. Until then, I did what I was told, she admitted. This time, it was her choice. By 1958, Natalie was fronting films opposite top stars, including Kings Go Forth with Frank Sinatra. But she also began to say no to projects that didn't feel right, a bold move for someone raised to comply. Warner Brothers suspended her for 1 year, a costly penalty that nonetheless marked her new resolve to own her path. She returned in 1960 with Cash McCall opposite James Garner, then cemented her place in history with West Side Story, 1961. Natalie Wood died in a drowning accident in 1981 during a weekend boat trip to Santa Catalina Island with Robert Wagner, actor Christopher Walken, and the boat's captain, Dennis Davern. She was 43. Her mortal remains were laid to rest at Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery. Her death stunned fans and colleagues and has been the subject of continued public interest and official review over the years. Natalie Wood's life is the story of rare talent, shaped and sometimes scarred by other people's ambitions. She was the 8-year-old who made a nation believe in Santa Claus, the 17-year-old who earned an Oscar nod for a performance that defined teenage yearning, and the 1961 star who gave West Side Story its fragile heart. She fought to choose her parts, even when studios punished her for it. She loved boldly, made mistakes, learned, and tried again. If you watch her closely in Splendor in the Grass, 1961, or Love with the Proper Stranger, 1963, you'll see what made her singular, the way hurt and hope can live in the same glance. That duality, strength wrapped around bruised feeling, was Natalie Wood's signature. It's why her work endures and why her story still matters.